We are making a green bean casserole that is such a favorite in just about every household when it comes to Thanksgiving sides. We have not made an updated version in about 5 years, so I figured it was time to revisit an oldie but a goodie. The recipe is pretty much the same because it's so good. You can't really make it any better. It's delicious. It's got that homemade cream of mushroom soup. It's got bacon. It's got just all the kind of things that make it savory and delicious, and it's definitely an upgrade from the traditional canned beans and canned soup. Although, I just want to make it very clear, if that's the route you go, because if that's the route you prefer, it is a-okay with me. Because what I've learned is that when it comes to cooking, it's either like we're really attached to recipes that we grew up with, and even if they're made like a certain way with a certain product, it means a lot to us. So if that is your family favorite, then by all means you should make that. But if you don't already have a recipe for a homemade version, let this be the one. In my shallow Dutch oven, I have just a little teeny tiny bit of olive oil with some bacon I chopped up. And you always want to start your bacon in a cold pan because it renders the best amount of fat this way. And I'm just looking for that bacon to get nice and crispy. I've got lots of crimini mushrooms sliced up. I've got a nice large onion diced up and ready to go. I'm going to chop up some garlic. I've got green beans ready. And speaking of green beans, they need to be dropped into some boiling water to blanch for a few minutes. So I'm just going to do that now. Water's up to a boil. Add my beans in. Those are going to sit in there for about 3 minutes, and then I'll drain them and I'll shock them under cold water to stop them from cooking any further. Give them a nice generous pinch of salt to salt that water. And once the 3 minutes are up, oh, I missed one because I was trimming them and it looks like I missed one or two. It's all right. It's like where's Waldo? You know what I mean? Once the 3 minutes is up, I'll drain them and then I'll set them aside and we'll continue on building the sauce. Get the bacon out. There's a good amount of bacon fat in the pan. Not much. Probably a couple tablespoons if I had to say. And I'm going to just tell you right now, I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving it in. If it was more than that, I wouldn't. And here's the thing. Thanksgiving is one of the few meals throughout the year where I do not want a skinified or thin or light, low fat. I don't want any substitutions. I want cream, butter, bacon, all the fats. I want it all, okay? If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I'm just telling you, you're missing out on good food. Add your onion. And add your mushrooms. I'll let those cook together with a pinch of salt. Essentially, what we're making is like a homemade cream of mushroom soup. You know what I mean? And it's delicious. Black pepper. These will cook like 10 minutes or so. You want them to cook down, develop some color. And I'm also going to go ahead and finally mince a few cloves of garlic. My green beans are draining. I shocked them under cold water, don't worry. But that's pretty much it. Keep an eye on this and we'll get closer to pulling it all together. Adding in my garlic. Look at how gorgeous that looks. Now you know this is going to be so full of flavor. It would honestly be a great topper to like plain grilled or roast chicken, a steak, a side dish, you know. Give it a stir, maybe add some fresh herbs, and you would be in business. Make sure you're cooking out that raw garlic flavor. A couple tablespoons of flour. That's just to create a thickener for your liquid so that it turns into the quote-unquote cream of chicken or cream of mushroom or whatever you got, whatever you're making. Delicious. If you want to use the can, by all means, but may I suggest perhaps sauteing some onions and mushrooms to add in there. May I just suggest, you know, go in with your chicken stock. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Get that stirred. It's going to start to almost immediately lift all those brown bits from the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to add in some dry thyme, okay? I could use some fresh thyme, but guess what? It's nearly all gone in my garden, and I forgot to pick some up. So I'm just going to use dry thyme. It's okay. I don't have time to go get the thyme, but I'm going to use this thyme because I ran out of time. I'm done with myself. Thank you very much. I'm gonna add a splash of cream. We've already talked about richness at the holidays, okay? We've talked about it. We are in pure and full understanding. I'm just gonna let this simmer a few minutes. It doesn't take very long at all. Then we'll move on to the next step. Look at this. Can you even stand it? And the way that it tastes is so delicious. May I suggest, let this be a sauce for your steak, okay? Listen, something's wrong with me today. I think it's just like the overwhelming excitement I have for the holidays and like the foods and all that catching up with me. Parmesan cheese, but really, for real, that would be a great sauce to add to things. Maybe just like make it a little bit thicker. Adding in some parm and your bland vegetables. Blanched, not bland. Although, before they came to the sauce, they were pretty bland. You know what I mean? The hardest part of this entire recipe, believe it or not, is this part of like stirring your ridiculously long green beans in this pan. You can also cut the green beans into small pieces, but this is the only way I can actually make this look presentable enough that I can take a nice thumbnail. That just needs to simmer all together a few minutes. The green beans are going to soak up the flavor. They'll finish cooking through. They'll be a little bit more gentle and tender. And then we top with our French fried onions that are store-bought, as they should be, and the bacon. And that's it. These are done, and they're honestly gorgeous. As they cool, the sauce will thicken. It is delicious, okay? This is the only green bean casserole I want to eat. My brother-in-law loves this recipe, but he likes to use broccoli, steamed broccoli instead of green beans, and you can totally do that if you want to. You can also top it with your French fried onion and pop it into the oven. Doesn't need it. Sprinkle your bacon, because you know, little salty bits here and there is all well and good. And that's pretty much it. Your French fried onions are a necessity. And I am, you know, a bit of an overachiever sometimes, but even I'm not going to ask you on the big day to fry your own onions. Although I have, okay? And if we're going to be very fair here, and if we're going to be very honest, they are infinitely better. But also, there's something very, I don't know, there's something very like vintage, shall we say, like nostalgic about a canned French fried onion. But this is the only green bean casserole I want to eat, okay? And I also did a poll on Instagram, and I was shocked to my core when I heard how many people don't like green bean casserole. And I am just, I'm sure that's because you've not had a good one. It's hot. It's hot, but it's good. So hot. That sauce is excellent. It's like rich and creamy. It has everything I want. So if I were to serve you a green bean casserole, this would be it. Go to laurainthekitchen.com for the written recipe. Hope you enjoyed spending time with me. I will see you in the next one. Bye.